Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ian is a Weirdo. I'm having a pretty rotten mental health couple of days, but I went to a concert last night with my family. I saw Post Malone, which was actually, he put on a great show. It was really fun. Not a huge fan myself, but it was cool. I like seeing musicians who are passionate about their music, who go up there and look like they're having a good time, who engage with the crowd and, can perform well. He undoubtedly is a talented musician, and had a great band. That was cool. Not complaining about that at all. But I am just not doing mentally well. And that happens sometimes, and I'm trying to reach out for help. But in the meantime, especially during the weekend, it gets really difficult to contact a lot of places. So I'm just trying to wait it out. Um, in the process of getting ready for the concert last night, I was going to wear my cardigan, even though it was like crazy humid. It was cooling off, but it was humid, so the cardigan wouldn't have worked anyways. But I found that in the connection between the the front and back panel and the sleeve had opened up, left a pretty big hole. Um, this probably isn't helped by just how I throw on my clothes. I don't really think about it. Um, I know I haven't been doing the 100 Nights of Halloween tonight and last night, so I apologize. But hopefully we can get back on. We can get back on schedule tomorrow night, or maybe not. I don't know. But I'll show you what happened. What I noticed. So this is the size of the hole. Maybe it's a little hard to see just based on my skin tone. But this is how big the hole is, kind of right at that um, intersection. So I'm going to try a couple different methods. I'm not really versed in crochet repair, so I'm going to try a couple different things and see if that works. The first is I'm going to use my latch hook, and I'm going to see if I can kind of redo the stitches that came undone, and uh, hopefully that is one way that we can make it work. So all of the loops that I made are still there. What happened is I wove in my ends, and I guess maybe I didn't weave in enough or something to that effect. I'm not quite sure. But I'm just going through the stitches and trying to pick up what I dropped. I don't know if this is gonna look right, but I don't really. I know that there are people who would be like, "That's obviously you trying to fix the way that your stitches look." And okay, so this does not only does it look wrong, but it's not going to be sustainable because it's going to stretch this entire stitch that entire length. Okay, so how do I do this? Okay. So maybe instead I swap the stitch for this stitch. I can reposition it. Pull that back through. I don't think I got all the way through the back. Through one, capture that. Pull it back like that. Okay, that looks a little bit better. I was thinking about trying to crochet this together, but I didn't think that adding more stitches would be helpful because I could just like, and then I was like, could I like match or stitch them together? And I was just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I think that should be pretty clear from what I'm doing right now. Is that I don't really have a idea what I'm doing when it comes to stitch repair. So I'm just kind of trying to make it work with what I got in my head and hoping that that's the answer. Luckily, I did this with a very large hook. I used a 10mm hook. So the stitches are quite large, meaning they're a lot easier to locate and go through. And my latch hook is fairly small. I got this latch hook at a beauty supply store, not like a Sally's, but like a one that you would see just kind of in like most shopping centers that has like you know bags of hair and all kinds of stuff. If you know that type of store, you know that type of store. Like I don't have to explain that to you. Like ones that sell wigs and things like that. Those are honestly the best stores, if you ask me. Okay, so now we're at like the weird point where this is where the underarm meet the two panels meet. And that's probably where we had a lot of our issues. Trying not to split this yarn. This yarn does split fairly easily, but that's okay. Okay, so I did this, which doesn't look amazing, but it's in the underarms. So it's not the biggest deal. Now I've repaired the hole that was created. The holes that are remaining aren't that much larger than the holes created by the hook. But now I'm going to go in with the color of the yarn, and I'm going to sew because like right now I just have an open loop, so if I left it, it would come undone and all the work I just did would unfurl. So I'm just going to take the length of yarn and I'm going to pull the middle through that loop. I don't know why I'm instructing anyone because I clearly have no idea. I'm going to do a little knot. Try to at least. Okay, come on. This yarn is like split. Nah, no bitch. We're not doing that. There we go. Going to create a small knot in the bottom of the underarm, but again, I'm going for security rather than aesthetics at this point. So I'm going to take a yarn needle. So now I have two ends of the yarn and I have a knot, a small, not super secure, but it's there, knot at the base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew both ends separately to add that security back to the stitches that I did. And hopefully I can tighten them up a little bit, make them look a little bit better, or just at least more secure. So hey Zach, no worries. How are you? That caps lock gets me too, so. I'm repairing a hole in my cardigan that kind of developed at the underarm because you have the front panel, the back panel, and then you have the sleeve. And I just kind of like shove my arms into I just like throw my clothes on and really think about it. And, it just a hole developed. To be honest, I'm not doing well. I said earlier I'm having a bad mental health couple of days. And that holds true now. I'm like seeking help for it, but it's hard during the weekend because most places have closed. So who knows what comes next, but I'll try to keep everyone in the loop. I'm just trying to get through the weekend, honestly, and slept or just live on my couch. Like, I have my, pillow from my bed here, and I have a blanket, and I've just been, I'll spend, 3 hours on the couch, spend, 3 hours in bed. Somewhere along the line, I'll take a nap. If I'm awake too long, my brain just does too much, you know? And I know you, struggle with depression, so I know you get it when your brain's just, not cooperating. You're just like, fuck, you know, trying to get out of it. And you kind of can't. You're just stuck there in this, limbo, just hating everything. So, kind of where I'm at. But first, I was just kind of I was reading a lot and just kind of struggling through it, or just letting my brain just kind of fry out. And then I was like, oh, I could be a little productive and repair the sweater because I really like this cardigan, but I can't wear it out if it has a huge hole in it because the hole is just going to get worse. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's lonely. Just feels like, you know, things get really hopeless and get really dark, and you're just like, oh, this is terrible. But that's just how mental health is sometimes, and you deal with chronic mental health issues. So just working on holding out for better things. But I have I messaged my psychiatrist several times this weekend, and I'm sure he already thinks that I'm just the neediest person ever. But I was just it's really bad now, and then 3 hours later, I'm it's less bad, but I still think I need help. So maybe he'll get to it tomorrow, and I'll get a call. I'm often halfway decent at asking for help when I need it, but this time I almost didn't want to and just gave in. But here I am. Yeah, I absolutely 1000% feel that. You're just no one has ever felt this bad. And your brain knows it's not true, but you can't stop thinking like that. You can't just be oh, well, you know, other people have survived it, so I can survive it. It's nope, I can't. I can't do it anymore. It gets really dark. I think a lot of people who don't deal with chronic depression do have trouble trying to relate to that feeling. So I'm glad you're here. I'm always glad when you show up, of course. But, I my family, they try super hard. This is not a diss on them or whatever, but it's always just go for a walk, or you just need to get up and do something. It's I fucking can't. Just like I want to be alone, but I also feel so desperately alone and want I just want someone who gets it to be you're not alone. I'm sewing the shit out of this underarm. Like it's gonna it's gonna be so sewn up and look so bad, but I'm like, I don't want this to happen again. Also, I've been using the Aleene's Fabric Fusion, and I'm just not convinced that it actually does what I want it to. And maybe it's because, like, so I learned the trick from Teal Yarn Craft's mom. I think her name's Gwen, and she's amazing. Like, this is not any kind of comment on her, but I think she also uses like a higher quality of yarn. I think she probably uses more wool and things like that. So maybe it's better on things like wool and not so great on yarns like acrylic, because I mean, I even use it for my like top that I did for my pride top, and I did like a gentle wash where I bagged my like I put like a intimates bag or whatever um for my pride top, and all my ends were poking out after it, and I was like, well, okay, well, I feel like that step just really didn't secure my ends as much as I hoped it would. So I'm kind of like, I'm just gonna. But this, I don't think I use the glue. Maybe I use the glue a little bit, but think that like I think that I just wove, did my like typical like weaving in my ends, and then they just came undone, which has never happened to me before. But maybe it's just because of like I don't usually make wearables like this, and I needed to do a little bit more to make sure it was secure. But who knows? Who cares? So yeah, I don't know. I'm not like super looking forward to the prospect of going into treatment again. It's always a really hard thing for me to, I guess, like accept, because I am just tired. Like I'm tired. Like depression is exhausting. I don't think that a lot of people realize that you just don't have energy to do anything. And also, when it just keeps happening again and again, just like, fuck, can I get a break? Can I get, like, can I catch a break, and can something go my way? Can I stop having to do the same steps over and over and over again? It just doesn't feel like you're ever gonna catch a break and things are gonna be easier. They're always gonna be difficult. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm just like, so I'm put another little knot where I sewed up one side, and I sewed down the other side, and then I came back, so I did that, and then I'm gonna do both ends together and sew them in a little bit, and then cut the excess. I see a loose loop right here, loose black loop, which was easy to miss. But luckily, it's really close to my knot, so I'm gonna go in there. Make sure I grab that. Make sure I don't have any other black loops that I'm missing. But thank you for being here, Zach. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I don't know. Sometimes it's just like, when you live alone, when like your friend group kind of disperses and starts having their own lives, and your life just feels like it's kind of stuck. It feels like, oh my gosh, that loneliness just amplifies even more. Okay, so I'm going to snip these ends. Not really going to glue them because, again, I'm just not really convinced it does anything. Ugh, okay, so I sewed up the end, and so I should have probably sewn inside, but I feel like sometimes when you sew on the inside, you have no idea what it's gonna look on the it's gonna look on the outside, and so it ends up looking worse. But I feel like the inside actually looks better. Now I'm looking on the inside, and I can see where that loose black, where like the black came undone, and I'm just making sure there's no open loops there. And I'm gonna try. Now I know people really like the those needles that are kind of like um, not ovals, but they like pointy on the ends, but they're open in the middle. For a lot of people, just kind of like this is the best because you can have shorter ends and stuff like that. Um, but I don't know. I've never gotten into them, but maybe I do. But I do find that I can do short ends and like little knots with my uh, latch hook. And this was, I think, $1 or less. You can also find them at the dollar store. Usually they'll come accompanied with the comb. Like I said, latch hooks, I think the cheapest place to find them is going to be thrifting. You often find them thrifting. If they have like a craft section, or for hair. Uh, Now there are more ergonomic ones if you go to like a Michaels or Joanne, but but I use it so infrequently, and this one is really small, so I can get exactly where I need to. I'm just gonna tie 2 small knots to make sure that this black doesn't come undone. So that's not according to plan. And I think that was part of the issue, is that my ends were just coming undone. I'm gonna check the inside, make sure it looks like all the loops are accounted for. Yeah, the inside looks way better than the outside. Could have definitely sewn that on the inside, but who cares? So this is the repaired sleeve, and that's nice. So at least I have that. Um, I've been kind of like running out of steam working on this, but um, I'm waiting on someone's opinion on which color they want to start a new cardigan. So with that, I'll just work on this, I suppose, even though it's not giving me a lot of thrill and excitement, but that's okay. It is something that's fairly easy to multitask to, and that's nice. And the colors of the yarn are just insane. They're probably one of my favorite yarn colorways I've ever played with, and feel really lucky to have been able to have snagged it. So it's hard. Sometimes depression either makes you purely ungrateful or makes you feel ungrateful for the things that you have. Like you just kind of want to be like, but I don't have anything. And it's like, you have all this shit right here. And it's like, yeah, but I don't care about it. And it's hard because, like, while you never want to seem like ungrateful for the things, thanks, Zach. You never want to seem like ungrateful for the things that you have. Everything feels so like hollow or superficial. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, well, I have it, but like, does it bring me joy? Does it like fill my heart with like excitement? It's like, no. But one of the main like criteria for depression is loss of interest in things that you enjoyed before. Like it's like that's like DSM shit. And so, do I have that? Yes. Do I feel like my creativity is just like in like the toilet? Yes. But do I still like look at the yarn that I've ordered over the past couple weeks and go, God, I wish I could enjoy this because I feel bad that I bought it and it's just sitting in a box that's staring right at me. Yeah. I don't know. I never mean to be ungrateful, but sometimes it just comes out that way. So if it ever sounds like that, I do apologize because, I know I'm fortunate in a lot of ways. It just doesn't feel like it right now. Right now, it feels like just like the sky is falling. I don't always like love being online. Actually, I usually don't when uh, when I feel like this because I feel like just like a sad sack of shit. you know, like it's just I'm sure it's pretty depressing to watch, but I also do it because one, like I do find a lot of connection between like us, and that does really help. But it's also because I know that like I'm not the only one who gets depressed here. I mean, clearly. And so, if watching this makes someone else feel less alone while I'm feeling lonely and talking about it, that's a win somehow. And I think more people experience depression than, they even recognize. Um, Maybe not on a clinical, like major depressive or bipolar type um, level, but it doesn't mean you're not depressed just because you're not as depressed as someone else. Right? It's not a competition to see who's the most depressed. That would be a really terrible competition to have. But I think a lot of people just, are faced at times with just these big moments of just feeling lonely, feeling disheartened, feeling kind of that loss of pleasure and excitement in life and in what they're doing, um, feeling kind of trapped or isolated. And, you know, if I can do anything that would make people feel less alone, I would kind of take that on as my responsibility as someone who can just show people that they're not. Maybe I can't tell you what to do or how to fix it, but I can show you that you're not the only one that experiences that. I don't know if that would be helpful or not. I don't know. Maybe it's not helpful. I don't know. When I went to the concert last night, so I don't know if you were in here, Zach, but I went to the Post Malone concert last night. I mean, I like his music enough, and he seems like a cool guy. Put on a really good show, so wasn't mad at it. I went with my family. They invited me, and I was like, it's just an excuse to get out of the house, right? You know, I wasn't gonna, if my family is making an effort to try to like repair our relationship and spend time with me, I'm gonna try. But there were moments where posts would be like, and if there's people out there thinking that they're not enough and they're not loved, like your friends love you, your family loves you, and I'm just sitting there. Or like, he's like, I wrote this because I went through a really bad breakup. And I'm just like, I'm listening to the music and I'm just like, my brain's just like, can't do this anymore, you know? And I know that he was trying to bring people together and give people hope and did the opposite for me. It just kind of made me feel more alone. Felt like a statue just staring there. And then I felt kind of like I was put on blast, because my family knows what's going on in my life, and everyone's just like looking at me like, is Ian freaking out yet? Because I'm just not handling things well in my life right now. I wish I was. But I've never handled things, big changes, small changes, even no change. Never handled them particularly well. I think there's this concept of like what it means to be like what's called like a highly sensitive person, and or they call it something else too. Um, but I definitely meet the criteria. I'm just, and I think that part of it goes hand in hand with like ADHD, which is surprising because, I think the more I learn about ADHD, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, are like all like most of my symptoms ADHD? And like, do I not have like half these diagnoses that I have? And it's really just ADHD? I don't know. But I'm just really impacted by changes in my environment, changes in people's expressions, their tone of voice, um, in how I feel like things are going. If I just feel like there's a micro inflection in their voice, I start to panic and I freak out. And I don't think that that's a great way to deal with things or go through life. And some people have been able, a lot of people with ADHD have been able to kind of take that and use it like a superpower. Like, okay, well, I can really read people and I can really tell when people are not a good fit for whatever, you know. And I don't feel like it's a superpower. I feel like it cripples me and makes me not trust a lot of people. I don't know, I'm just rambling, so I apologize if this is just super fucking boring, but I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thing. But I've always been really sensitive. I think even before, I mean, it's hard to tell. I experienced trauma in my life so early that I don't know what my life was like before trauma, you know? And so it's like, what, who, who, what came first, you know, chicken or the egg type of situation. And so it's like, was I a really sensitive person before I was traumatized or not? I don't know. Very sticky situation to try to peel all that apart and try to figure out what the fuck is going on. But I also, you know, it's like, I don't know. Just want to feel better. I want to feel like a functional human again. Just don't feel like it felt like that in a while. So this is what the back panel looks like so far. I'm liking the way that the colors are turning out, you know, because when I first started, I was like, well, maybe there's not going to be enough black. And I was like, well, maybe there's not going to be enough like lime green. And I feel like the way that the colors are working out, you really do get enough of like everything. There's so much texture to it. It's very textured. I think maybe I'll actually use this as the front panel so it has the texture, and then the back panel I'll just do a double crochet. So, because I don't, who cares what the back looks like? I mean, I'm kind of like, I've always had this attitude that the back of my head, like when I get a haircut or like when I straighten my hair, I'm like, the back of my head is like none of my business because I don't have to look at it. And so like that's why I have like more back tattoos and but like the back of my sweater, it's like it's none of my business. I'll never look at it. So I'll just do a double crochet. It'll be faster to use a little less yarn. Um, because while I like this stitch and it's fun and it's repetitive and it's easy enough, I don't feel like it's necessary to have this level of detail in the back. As for the arms, I do think it would be cool to do this on the arms at least. Maybe I don't know. I really like love the idea of color blocking, but instead of color blocking, do just like a stripe the of the textured part, and then do a double crochet the rest of the way down. I think that could look really cool. Part of the reason, hey Daniel, I'm having a bad mental health days weekend, so I'm just like a little bit of venting, a little bit of crochet. When I started, I guess I kind of punched my way through the underarm of my cardigan that I made. So I sewed it up. It was a pretty big hole. It was like this big in the underarm, you know, in the front panel and the back panel and the sleeve all meet. So I sewed it up. It's not perfect, and honestly, the inside looks better than the outside. But you know how I see. I'm not good at repairing things. I've never actually really had to repair anything. Not saying that I'm like so good. I don't repair things. I just have never really done it, especially with a wearable because I don't really make those. Um, but but I used my latch hook and sewed in, and then went in and with another piece of the Halloween color, and I just like sewed back and forth until I felt like it was like really secure. So, and then I was just talking about like what I plan to do for the sweater. I was originally going to do this for the back panel. So this is a very, very textured. I was going to do it for both the front and back panel. It's very textured. So what it is basically you alternate doing a double crochet and then like a kind of like uh, front loop only single crochet. Technically, you're supposed to do it all on one side. You're not supposed to flip it at all. But I didn't really understand how they expected me to crochet backwards. So I'm like, okay. So I just flipped it. And I like this better. But I'm thinking I'm going to keep the texture on the front. And then on the back, I'm just going to have something like this that'll be like a double crochet all the way up. And then for the sleeves, I was saying that I'm like really into color blocking kind of always, but especially right now. But instead of color blocking, I'm going to do like double crochet sleeves and then maybe have like a strip where I do like the textured part just so it looks like just a little bit different. And then just the rest of the sleeve would be a double crochet. And then maybe I'll do something like this, but uh, uh, vertical for the cuff, or maybe I'll just do like a ribbed cuff so it looks like it has that same texture um, uh, for the cuff because that could look cool, I guess. I don't know. I'm planning ahead, but this project is it's one of those projects that you start really excited and then like you get to a point where you're like, can it be done now? It's kind of like it's like not hard to do, but I'm just kind of tired of doing it. And especially with the front, I need to make sure it's big enough. I should size it up with one of my shirts because right now I have a lot of volume in my chest area. Um, but hopefully I won't always have that same volume in my chest area. So I need to make sure that it fits and it doesn't, because like that volume will make the shirt shorter. So I need to make sure I don't make myself like a belly shirt because I'm not really in that stage of my life. I've never been in that stage of my life. Not into like a crop top moment. Daniel, did you get a chance to see that the like what type of gay are you? Like over 25 posts that I sent you? It wouldn't let you view it. Oh, maybe you weren't part of the group. Basically, they were like, let's say like 20 things that were like, if you're a gay, like there's one thing that like sums up your personality. Like you have to pick one once you turn 25 as like a gay, as a gay. Um, but Disney was on there and I was like, that's Daniel. And then like for me, there was like a jock strap and I was like, that's me. I don't know why, but I'm obsessed with them, and I don't know why. But I just think that they're like the best thing in the world. I can't explain it. Like it makes well, I mean, other than being like a slutty person by nature. Maybe that explains it all, actually, right there. Like zero explanation needed. But there were all kinds of things, but like the only one that I was like connected to was the jock strap. And I was like, checks out. Damn, I got called out. Yeah, I know, right? But they're like perfect. Like they hold my packer. They felt like good, easy access. Like what's not to love? I do have a hard time finding them in my size though. On like actually pretty much everywhere. Pretty much everywhere I have a hard time finding them in my size. But whatever. It's like the only time in my life where I order a small. And of course, like small doesn't exist anywhere. They're like, we start at medium, and I'm like, man. So finding them can be a little difficult. And then it's like, okay, well, the colors you get are just the most bland and just boring things in the world. But I don't know. Still, I think it's a little silly that you need to be part of a group to see a post in that group, but maybe it's like a privacy, like maybe if it's like a public group, then you don't need to be part of it. But if it's private or like you have to do something to like fill out something to see something in there, you have to do it. Maybe that's part of it. I don't. I don't remember. Oh my gosh, I saw something kind of brilliant where like this this there's a skunk outside. Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh. So did okay, so question, like so actually I've never encountered a skunk. Do they smell all the time and then they can release like extra potency? Or is it like they they it's like it just released something and to like get away and then you can smell it? I actually don't know anything about skunks other than they can they can make something smell really bad. Daniel, I think you'll appreciate this. But like, so I heard something really funny, or I like watched this like short video. I'm not sure either. Uh, you don't need to apologize. I mean, who's a skunk expert in this room? Not any of us probably. Um, but so this woman was receiving like unsolicited pics of a X-rated variety, and so she started like if someone sent her an unsolicited pic, she would just like send her Venmo information. She'd send a Venmo request for like $25 or something. And like people started, like most people, she said like 90% of people would pay her. And then she's like started getting like there was like one person who like would just like repeatedly like do it and has paid like so like thousands of dollars like again and again and again for her to just like say something about it. And just like I was like, who are you and why are you a wizard? Like, that's pretty genius because even if you're a fan, unsolicited pics aren't usually the best thing, right? And so it's like she's like working the system, and I was like, props to you, that's genius. I saw this pretty, speaking of that, I saw this pretty funny clip of a comedian. I'll try to repeat it like as best I can, but basically like this comedian is a dad, and he's like going through like pictures on his phone, and he like sees a X-rated pic, and he was like, "That's not mine," and he realizes it's his son's, and his son's sending out pictures of himself, and at first he's like, "That's my son. I made that kid," and he's like, "I made that dick." And so he goes to it. He's like, "Well, I gotta talk to my son about sending pictures." And so he goes to his son. I don't know how old the son is. He didn't say, but probably a teenager. And so he goes and he's like, "Hey, can you explain to me again how the cloud works?" And the kid's like, "Okay, Dad, if you take a picture, it goes to the cloud." And the dad was like, "Uh huh." And then the kid was like, "If mom takes a picture, it goes to the cloud." And the dad was like, "Uh huh." And and the kid was like, "And if I take a picture, oh." That's as close as I can get to the actual uh, uh, clip, but it was pretty funny. I actually don't. I mean, I have an Android, so like those kinds of things don't really happen to me. But also, I'm not really on like a shared cloud system with anyone, so that wouldn't. That whole phenomenon is kind of a little foreign to me, um, but I do think it's funny. Also, how it was delivered, just the joke was delivered was very funny. Working on a sweater. Should play Sweater Weather by the Neighborhood. So, has anybody been listening to any fun music lately? I've been getting like back into some I am always like I want a physical copy person. Like I don't really personally like having things that are digital, mostly for like reasons like I've had digital copies and then like something happened and they're gone. And like obviously you can lose a physical item, but like me personally, I love like having CDs. Like I don't care how old that makes me. Like I like I mean, I don't just listen to CDs, but I do have like quite a few CDs and stuff that I listen to on the regular, like in my car. And so like I'll bounce back. Basically, what I'll do is I'll listen to the radio, and like the minute that they do their like 10 minutes of commercials, I'll switch to an album that I have like already loaded up, and I'll listen to that. So lately, I've been listening to the Deftones again, which I haven't listened to them in quite a while, and that's been pretty cool. Um, because like sometimes when I'm in like a not great emotional place, like I want like happier music, fun music, dance music, and like I'll always love dance music because like I just love to like dance around, be goofy, have fun, stuff like that. And like I'll always love like knows that like I love my like Pride Party playlist, which has like Whitney Houston, Lady Gaga, all the whole burlesque soundtrack, which of course is probably the best, one of the best movie soundtracks of all time because that movie is like gay mecca. Um, and I love that fucking movie so much. Um, and like uh, like I'll always love that music and always fits every mood. But sometimes when I'm like in like a darker place, I will listen to like darker music. Or even if I'm not in a darker place, like I do like kind of like gothier shit. But I don't listen to it all the time because I'm just not in the mood all the time. Um, when I was younger, I listened to like more metal and things like that. But I found that it was such a good angry like cohort to like these feelings that I was feeling that I didn't have a word for. And I felt like someone who was able to put it into music, but I don't really listen to angry music anymore. And so like now when I'll like occasionally listen to metal, but I'm not gonna listen to a whole album of it. It'll be like one or two songs, and then I'm like, okay, got my fill. It's cool. But like I feel like the Deftones, especially like what is it like what's the name of the album? It's like Saturday Night something. It's like I think their most popular album. Saturday Night Wrist. It's got that one song, "Change in the House of Flies," that was in Queen of the Damned, which was potentially one of the hottest like sexy scenes of all time. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Aaliyah and like Lestat, like in like a bath of blood. Like, oh if you haven't seen Queen of the Damned and you were into like vampire stuff, it's supposed to be a sequel to Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. It's not really, but kind of sure, like in theory, more so than anything else. And it has a lot of metal in it, but it also has some like kind of like just darker music. And there's that song, and it's just like the way that it just is so mind melting, it just is perfect. So it's got that. It's got a lot of good songs in it. I wouldn't say every song is like the song, but like it's got a lot of good songs in it. So I've been listening to that on occasion. But if I listen to a lot of sad music but I'm sad, I'm just kind of like, well, yeah, this isn't really like lifting me up. So then I'll like turn to the radio and then they'll play like a Whitney Houston song and I'll be like, all better. I really love Whitney Houston. I don't know if I don't really talk about Whitney Houston on here as much as I do in real life, but like I am such a big Whitney Houston fan. Such a big Whitney Houston fan. Like obviously like I love Gaga. Obviously I love Christina. Like obviously I love all the gay icons and Cher and Madonna, you know, we have moments, but like Whitney Houston is like my ultimate diva. And I like when like Mel and I were making our like wedding like playlist, it was like Whitney, 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 Whitney. There were so many songs because like Whitney just like did it and she was so iconic. So I do love Whitney Houston so desperately much. I don't really like I guess I just really don't talk about it here. Um, so if like a Whitney Houston song comes on, like game over. Like even if it's like something more soulful, it's not as upbeat. It's like it still hit me in all the right ways. Like she just served, just diva, queen. So like, but I actually don't know what everyone else listens to. Like we don't talk about music like nearly as much. And which is kind of crazy considering music is kind of like my lifeline. Like music is something that will always help me out if I use it in the right way. If that makes sense. Like I said, like if I'm in a bad mood and I put on like a happy song that I love, like it does significantly impact like the way that I feel. So like what does everyone else listen to? What's like everyone else's like style of music? Like what genres do you like? What bands do you like? What concerts have you been to? I'd love to know because those things are like I mean, not everyone is like a music nut, but which is fine. But I feel like I definitely am, and I love talking about music because I love when I hear about a band I don't know about, or like I know about a band, but I don't know like their deep cuts, and people are like, oh, like you think you've heard this band, but you've only heard like their popular stuff, but like try this and like, oh, I love that. You like country music. You've never been to a concert. I think you would have really liked the Post Malone concert because he's doing his country album tour now. But even some of his more popular songs that aren't country, he kind of made a little bit more country. But I would have never guessed that, Zach. That's so cool. I haven't really gotten into country music that much. Like, I like kind of what I would consider like the country music icons, like Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. Um, like, I like older country, I tend to. Um, but I haven't really been able to attach myself to a lot of newer country. Um, do you tend to like all country or do you listen to like newer stuff, older stuff? I think you would really like a concert. It is like it can be very overwhelming, but like, you know, but also I understand that maybe country music concerts might not be as accessible to you as they are to me, because I live in the south of the US. So country music concerts are very easy for me to come by. That's cool, Zach. Yeah, I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan, and when my friend passed in July, like we were both. I mean, we're both like huge Dolly Parton fans. He was very into country, very into country. But we obviously connected very much on Johnny Cash and Dolly. And so when I made my first, I actually have my bracelet here. I don't have. I made this is my first leather project. These two. I made a version and it was too short, so I use it on my keyring now, and that's his bracelet because he had already passed and he was being cremated. So um, it wasn't really an option to give him something. But Shania Twain, oh my gosh, she can murder a song, and I mean that like in a good way. She is undeniably a superstar. That's awesome. Jolene is amazing. Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Zach. That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. Did you know that so I heard this recently. So Dolly Parton was recently like awarded something for like women in music or something. And Pink, the artist Pink, was giving the speech. It's like the speech to introduce Dolly or whatever. And she said that, Dolly wrote I Will Always Love You, which obviously is so good. And that's what I have on my bracelet. It says I will always love you, and it has this a feather from my friend, and but I made matching sets so that we could just always have our thing. But she wrote "I will always love you," and she wrote Jolene in the same night. Dolly Parton is a fucking legend. She's so badass. And she's a good person. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like Dolly Parton has a lot of like just like good person initiatives. One of hers, like she's really devoted to um letting kids have access to reading materials and books. So she like you can sign up for like kids, and like once a month she'll send them like a kid's book so that she can 9 to 5. Oh my gosh, just slays it. um so I've actually never seen the movie though. I don't know why. I know, right? Two iconic songs in one night. That's insane, right? um so she uh let's see. But yeah, so she'll send books out to kids so they can read. And she's just the most humble person. She like never let like the media who tried to shame her for like plastic surgery or anything, like she never let people bring her down. Like she's so iconic. 9 to 5 is so good. So I found out that I love music facts. That's something about me. So uh, when they decided on the title of 9 to 5, basically I heard that Dolly Parton was like, cool. And the next day she came back with that song. Like, she's so fast at writing songs because she just like gets things together. I watched this interview where, so like, how like, well, now she wears like, now she wears her gloves with nails on them. Um, just I think she just doesn't like showing any age. It's not her thing, which is fine, cool. But it was an interview back in the day, maybe 80s or 90s, and she did an interview with Patti LaBelle, who has an incredible voice, who just slays so hard. And so it's two iconic music artists, and yeah, exactly. She was like, I just love I just love looking like I want to look. And like she also was like, so she said she modeled her like look and her like the concept of what she wanted to look like out of the like town floozy that where she grew up. She just wanted to look. She thought it was glamorous and beautiful. She just wants to be glamorous and beautiful, and it's like, fucking go for it, slay. Um, but she was doing this interview with Patti LaBelle, and I don't know how this came up, but so they both had these like fairly long acrylic nails on, right? Those like nail extensions. And so I don't have them, so it won't work, I don't think. But I've never done this before. But so I think maybe Patty asked her about like the songwriting process. And so Dolly started like tapping a foot, and she started like rubbing her nails together, and they make like a clicky sound. Might see like mine don't really do it because I don't have acrylic nails. But like she started just like doing that, and then she got Patty to do it, and so she would start doing that, and she'd start singing a song, and like she made music from just like getting a beat off of her nails. Like she's so cool. Dolly Parton's so cool. I'll never stop being like just impressed with just like how good of a person she is, and just how like impressive a musician she is. She For the Olympic Games, I don't know if you like Queen, the band Queen, but she did a cover. She combined two songs. She did "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions." She did a cover of those songs. So if you're interested in Queen and you want to hear some more Dolly Parton, I would say check that cover out. It didn't get much like it didn't get like I don't feel like it got like boosted like to the radio and stuff like that as much. Maybe in like country music, it did. I don't know. I don't listen to any country stations or whatever, but she did a cover, and it was fun. I would say it's not my favorite thing she's ever done, but like I think that she brought like passion and like on like I love Queen, so like I'm very protective of when people do Queen covers, and she obviously did a great job because of Dolly Parton. She's gonna do a great job. There's no doubt, no doubt. God, I'm just like gushing. I'm just like a fanboy. I'm just like, and I had. But she's amazing. She's incredible. And like she's just like, I don't know, she's like said some like just she's just so supportive of other artists and other things. Like I really appreciate that. Like there was like one like Dolly Parton tribute concert, and like an artist named Elle King, who is like Rob Snyder's like estranged daughter. Like Elle King is very talented. I do love her music. I loved her first album. I haven't really heard much of her recent stuff because I think she went more country, and I don't really listen to that. But I think Elle King like came out and did a Dolly song, but she was like kind of drunk, and people were like criticizing Elle really hard. And Dolly was like, she got a little tipsy. So what? Like, who cares? Like, it happens. Like, she's just so supportive of other artists. Like, Dolly, you are what we need. You were perfect in everything that you did. We love you. Um, Zach, have you ever seen Drunk History? It was a show on Comedy Central, the channel Comedy Central, I think, or maybe it was just a YouTube show. I don't know. There's definitely like a lot of clips on. No, it was on Comedy Central, but you can see like almost all of it on YouTube, I think. Because they've done a couple episodes on like, I think they've done at least two on Dolly Parton. Maybe just one long one. I'm not quite sure. But that was interesting because you learn so much, and it's delivered in such a funny way. You think you've seen it. Yeah, because like they did one on Dolly Parton. So if you haven't checked out that episode, I would recommend it because it's funny because like the drunk person's delivering the history, um, but uh, they uh, they uh, you learn a lot about the person that they're talking about. So I love that show. I learned so much, like when like Elvis became like honorary DEA agent, and like which was wild. You just like learn so many things about history that you're like, what? This is crazy. Just the details of history that like you didn't know about, and then the way that it's talked about is just so funny because it's from a drunk person, and so they're telling it, and you're just like, what? And like you have the actors like acting out the story that it's being told, and it's just wild. I love that show. It's very funny. So funny. But I think that I'm going to head out. Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Daniel, and thank you, everyone who hung out. And I actually really do feel a lot better. I feel a lot more lightness, uh, light, uh, kind of on my shoulders and my soul. And I can't express how grateful I am to have friends on here. Um, I think that uh, it's easy to build superficial relationships through the internet, much harder to develop relationships where you get to know people and um, kind of know more about them and connect with them. But I'm so glad that I have been able to connect with you all, um, and you just help me out, like, because basically I could have just, what I probably would have done if I hadn't jumped on here is I would have maybe repaired the the cardigan, but I just would have been on my couch thinking about how terrible my life is and how I don't know how I would have gotten through it. Hey, Lydia. I've had a pretty bad uh, couple days in mental health. I know you've been struggling too, and I'm really sorry to hear that. But just talking to you all and, um, just being light with it, I think that when we talk about mental health, it's easy to get into how shitty things are all the time, right? Like how bad we feel and stuff like that. And I did have some of that at the beginning, right? I was venting quite a bit and talking about how hopeless I felt. But then, at the same time, we started talking about things like music and things that that will bring me joy, kind of even in a really dark place. And so it can be easy to get out of that place when you have good friends who are just willing to talk to you. 9 p.m. Eastern, if you want to pop in and say hello. Cool, I'll try to. So it depends. I might be doing 100 Nights of Halloween because I do that around 9. Um, and I'm not trying to drop the ball just yet because, like I said, there's a strong possibility that I'll be entering treatment soon. And I guess I don't really talk about my experience in treatment that much, but a lot of the time, once I go into treatment, like I don't have access to my laptop. I have limited access to my phone generally. And if I do have access to my phone, it's, on really bad Wi Fi. Um, and it's more about like just connecting to the other people there who are also having a hard time. Um, yeah, funerals are fucking hard. Um, I I know I'm pretty sure no one in here practices, but I will occasionally do like some kind of spiritual like rituals around um, anything really. But tonight I did one that was both for me in trying to heal some part of my soul and get a little bit of comfort, and bringing in like light and kind of dispelling some of this like just depression. But also it was about connecting with my friend who passed, and he passed in July, and I just sat there and cried. And I have the little pamphlet that they gave out at his funeral, and I just hugged it and cried, and I was like, I wish I hugged you more when you were alive. And you know so Lydia, I'm sending my deepest condolences, because when people pass, there's there's no right or wrong way to deal with it, right? And you think how you might react at their funeral or something like that, and sometimes it goes that way and sometimes it doesn't. you know I I can't even remember what I said at my friend's funeral. I just know that I just was a wreck. Was a wreck. I just fell apart in front of everyone there. Um, so I'm just saying that's good. I'm glad you're getting some time off to just focus on healing. And, uh, you know, you didn't ask for my advice, but the most healing time that I've had with um, my friends passing, well, there's a couple things. One was crafting things for him, you know. I said earlier that I was, when I was the first leatherwork project, I made a leather bracelet for me and I made one for him. His turned out really small, so I have it on my key ring right now. Um, and I'll always have him with me, you know. And it was very healing to know that I'll always have him. So crafting for me was very helpful. Um, but also, I think in dark times, remembering that there was so much good that you got out of that um, relationship, and that experience of knowing them, that it can be a celebration of life. But oh shit, does it not always feel like that? And so, any way you need to grieve or process, if you need to go through every single stage of grief and mourning time and time again, that's okay. So, I'm really sorry that this is going on for you, and I I don't know your particular, like, I don't know every single detail about your relationship with them, but um, you know, I just know that losing someone close to you is very, very fucking hard. And I don't take it lightly when people I know and I love and I care about are going through that grief process. And I don't expect any specific timeline for them to get over it. I don't think that that's what we should expect from anyone when they're grieving, right? There's no end to missing someone that we love. So, but there can be a change in attitude about how you go about it. For me, it's connecting spiritually with my friend, with the memories that I have. Um, for me, it's glad that he's out of a place of pain. Um, but I know it's different for everybody, so I'm just very sorry. Um, but resuming what I was saying, in treatment, sometimes treatment is a week. Sometimes it's 72 hours if you're on a 72-hour IVC hold. Involuntary commitment is what IVC stands for. Call my doctor. I need a therapist. My heart is broken. Honestly, therapy has saved my life again and again and again. And I think that there's no problem with asking about help. There's no problem at all with that. I know that there are services like BetterHelp. Last time I checked, BetterHelp does not use insurance, which sucks because it's expensive. But there's a lot of therapists who do take insurance if you have it. It's been a year. Oh my gosh, Zach. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Is that like standard, or could you like try to see a therapist? Could you just like call into a therapy office and get on their wait list? Because like, I mean, granted, I have like I've been in therapy for a very long time. Better socializing and grieving. I think a therapist would be fantastic for those skills. For both of you. Zach, I really don't know much about how the Canadian healthcare system works. I know that waitlisting is a huge problem from what I heard in Canada, but I also know that getting a referral from a doctor to go see a therapist sometimes takes way longer than just going to the therapist directly. But in some places, you have to have a referral from a doctor to see a specialist. I don't know if a therapist would qualify. Yeah, yeah. I would. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Zach, like I said, I really don't know the Canadian healthcare system much, but in the US, you can just call a therapist office. Like, um, hold on 1 second. My screen might blink and black out and stuff. Oh, sorry. It auto-filled a lot of shit for me because I use this website a lot. I'm trying to see if it's international. Okay, so they do have one in Canada. Oh my gosh, sorry. Don't 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 do that. I thought I copied it. I don't know what I copied in there. Okay, so Psychology Today. They have if you do Psychology Today without the dot or /ca, it will take you to the US website. If you do it if you do it so that would be a good resource for you, Lydia. And if you Zach, you can use that link that I just posted. Not Nightbot. Don't worry about Nightbot. It's not a dumb fear. Talking to someone new about these deep issues that you are really struggling with is terrifying. And also, sometimes therapists aren't good fits. But Psychology Today is a really great resource. It's an international, just found that out, international resource for helping you find a therapist or psychiatrist. And you can read reviews, you can read their profiles, their specialties, um, and it's a very good place to find things. If you need a treatment center, like I might probably do, you can find that there. So I would definitely say maybe look into that and see if you can just call um, a office like that. So what you will do is so once you go to the website, there's like the header and then it says find a therapist. And you can also use that drop down to find treatment centers, support groups. There's even support groups. So you could just go and just sit in a group of people who are dealing with similar issues. But you can find a therapist, you enter your city or postal code, and then you just search. And it can be anonymous, like you don't have to use like a login information, you don't have to like create an account or whatever. And that is a really amazing way to find people. That to me, that has been the most recommended website consistently across the board for finding people. And I have found great therapists through it. great. And oftentimes, if you, in the States, if you have a particular insurance, they will tell you what insurance they take. So you don't have to waste your time with someone who won't take your insurance. Because that's bullshit. I will say there is no way a good therapist is going to sit there, listen to you, and judge you. It's just not going to happen. A good therapist has seen it all, heard it all, won't bat an eye. Yeah, so, okay, so so let me go back to, well, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of therapists, right? So let me put it in mine. So, yeah, so I can see what are the therapists near me. You can add filters on the right side, at least on the US site. I didn't know what even postal codes could exist in Canada, so I didn't know what to do. You can select female or male. Some people have preferences. You can do in person or online. A lot of people are moving to online just because it's more convenient. But some people are great. I mean, some people prefer in person. Doing it in person at first can be a little bit more comfortable because at first you're really nervous. You're in the waiting room. You're like, holy shit. But then you go in, and therapist offices are always the most calming places because you go in and they almost create like a little calm oasis feeling with like a white noise machine. And they just have like plants and just nice pictures that are just calming. It's nice. In home, when you're on Zoom, sometimes that's preferred, but getting to know a therapist, sometimes going in person at first can be really nice. You can add filters. So they have their popular filters. And they, like, some of them are about conditions, some of them are about like people, like therapist types you would prefer based on issues that you want to confront. Specialties, insurance, types of therapy, um, your age, their ethnicity or your ethnicity, sexuality, languages, faith, if you want to do faith-based, and also price. Now, sliding scale is for if you don't have insurance and you want to pay cash at your visit. Some therapists will do a sliding scale, meaning they will make your visits cheaper. This is only if you don't have insurance. They can't do it if you have insurance, but they will make your visits cheaper if they can based on your income. So just something to consider. So you can filter out. So I know, Zach, you saw like a sex therapist and you're like, no, I don't want that. But yeah, so like you could do in person. So just select that in person filter and it'll help you sort things out. But it's such a great resource. And while it can be very scary to open up to someone, and you might open up to someone and you don't like their style, just it's kind of like dating where it's like you don't like their vibe, just move on. Who cares, Like, it's not a big deal to break up with a therapist. If you're not a good match, don't waste your time. Give it a good couple sessions, but if they're not the vibe, then just don't worry about it. It happens. I've had to have therapists like that. I've had therapists who've told me like, "Hey, I don't think we're vibing." Yeah, please do. And if you ever need it again, you lose it, whatever, just let me know. I'll be happy to send that. But it's just psychologytoday.com or /CA for you. Okay, awesome. That's great, Lydia. It's such a good resource. People will write detailed descriptions, and you can really kind of feel like you get to know the person, which I really like because it feels like you're not going in blind. And like, is this a therapist that has dealt with someone who's dealing with grief? You know, I like not all therapists are like grief masters, right? Like for me, like I've got a lot of conditions, and so I've got to be really careful about who I select because I can't pick someone whose only focus is like grief, because yes, it's one thing I deal with, but it's not the only thing by far. So I've got to be very selective and make sure that they can handle all the shit I'm gonna throw at them, because I'm gonna throw a lot of shit at them. They have a lot to handle with me. So I need to make sure that they're prepared for all the shit I'm gonna bring. And and so that's kind of how I feel about it. Um, but I'm really glad that I could share that resource with you. If you know anyone else who's struggling to find a therapist, share that resource with them. It is a fantastic place to find a therapist or get you on the path to finding a therapist. Because let's say maybe you're not a fit. Maybe they say, you know what? I might not be the best fit for you, but I know someone, because like all the therapists know the therapists in the area. They like, they, because like all therapists have therapists, just so you know. So like, because they have to process through the things that they go through, and they're humans, right? And so important to remember your therapist is a human. And so they know therapists in the area. So they might say, you know what? I actually know the perfect therapist for you. So that can be a great way to meet the right therapist for you too. So any way it goes, and if you ever need to talk about finding a therapist, finding a psychiatrist, if you do need medication, which I don't know if that's the case for either of you, but if you do need it and you need to see a psychiatrist, I can also talk to you about that. Usually, a therapist will have a bevy of psychiatrists that they can recommend as well. But they'll also teach you tricks about how, like, the thing is, a lot of people are like, if you see a therapist, you have to see a therapist forever. For some people, that's true. For some people, they teach you the skills, like, it's a short term or a shorter term thing where they teach you the skills to get through these hard moments by yourself. Like, they're helping you build the toolkit to survive and tackle life. That's how you have to see it. They're helping you build that toolkit. Good therapist. And that means sometimes you got to get it out, which is painful. And then they're like, okay, now that you've gotten it out, let's talk about how we can handle the shit going forward. That's what you want. You want someone who you can, sometimes you just got to vent. And sometimes you say, shit, well, what if this happens again? How am I going to deal with it? Or how am I going to deal with it now? I can't deal with it. And they'll say, well, let's start giving you some tools. I will say, if you meet someone in person, bring a notebook so you can write down your tools so that when you are having a hard time, you can look at your notebook and you can read through what they told you. So bring a notebook. And uh, uh, just go in. If you just need any tips on therapy, please let me know, because kind of am an expert. I've been going to therapy off and on for over 15 years. So I like to consider myself a little bit of an expert. I've had good therapists, I've had bad therapists. It is very rare that you can shock a therapist, like surprise them with things. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's a little, if it almost feels like a little validating because you're like, this crazy shit happened. And then your therapist is like, whoa, that's some crazy shit. And you're like, you leave the session, you're like, wow, I shocked a therapist. Yeah. Lydia, I 1000% understand. Like, I'm literally probably about to go into treatment so that I can just learn how to get through a day at a time. I understand so deeply, and I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. Like, I'm right there with you. Today, I didn't think I could make it through. Yesterday, I didn't think I could make it through. And I will say finding a good therapist can make a huge difference in that. But also having a good friend that you can talk to and be there for. I would like to be that friend for you right now, but unfortunately I can't even carry my own baggage. So my empathy level is like at a -5. Um, not empathy, but just like my ability to, you know, be the person that someone is able to talk to and work through shit with. Um, Otherwise, I would offer my services for that, but because I'm there, I'm so there with you. It's crippling. It's awful. It's physically painful. So finding someone to talk to is good. And I will say, in my experience, usually like a couple weeks is like the wait time. It can be different based on your work schedule. So that might push things back a little bit, but I think you can find someone fairly quickly. And you can also look on Psychology Today for support groups. And support groups do not have wait times. You show up. And that can be helpful as well. So don't forget the community resources that are available to you, and the friends that you have, and the family that you have. All of those people are very important in building your support system. Maybe some people will not be as helpful as others, and recognize that before you try to make them that person you confide in. Because I've tried to confide in people that just aren't. Some of them, maybe they're not as compassionate as others. Some of them, they don't understand what it's like to be. I was talking about being like a highly sensitive person, and I think that a lot of us are. And so some people just don't have that, and they're like, why are you still so upset about it? And it's like, well, I am. Like, stop trying to push me into something that I'm not. So just kind of consider who you talk to about that beforehand, because some people can just make it worse, and you're just like, fuck it, you know. You just made me feel like trash. Thank you. So, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. I'm so sorry. But there's a lot of great resources out there. Don't give up. Even though I want to give up. Why am I saying this? Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Just try to focus on the things that make you happy. It can be really hard like I said right before you came in, Lydia, like we started off this conversation pretty dark, me just venting about just how hard it is. And then we got to talk about Dolly Parton and how amazing she is and how she makes us feel. And, it can really change things if you start finding things that you're passionate about. Is it crafting? Is it movies? Is it music? Um, and when you're going through a really hard time, you start to lose passion in things that you loved before. That is very common in depression. It is a key sign of depression. And so if you love crochet but you pick it up and you're like, I can't do this. Then don't push it. Just find something else. Find something else that brings you joy. Experiment with some stuff that's just a little bit different. If you can't diamond paint right now, don't fucking try to diamond paint. Don't push yourself. Just focus on things that make you happy. Think about, for me, like I have some core movies that will always make me happy. Like Jurassic Park, I will always jam on that shit. Always, always, always. Scooby Doo, always. So I watch that over and over and over again because I can't feel that sad if I'm watching those. So find those key things and just try to hold on to them just for a little bit longer until you can get into therapists. So, okay. So you're not afraid of your therapist judging you. You're afraid of your friends judging you. So, Zach, I understand that. I'll tell you the reality of the situation, and then I will tell you some options that you can do, in my opinion. Take it for what you will. The reality of the situation is most people should be in therapy. Point blank, period. Most people should be. They mask their pain and they suffer silently. It's just actually what's going on. Now, you can go to a therapist and you cannot tell your friends. You can go to a therapist and just say you have an appointment. You can go to your therapist and say you have a doctor's appointment. Or you can go to your therapist and say you have a therapy appointment. And if your friends judge you because you feel like you need help and they've watched you struggle in your grieving process, maybe communicate to them that what you're doing doesn't feel like it's working. And you just need someone to give you some tools for your toolbox, just to help you out a little bit more. Everybody needs help, and there's no shame in that. But if you've got to lie to protect yourself in here, that's okay. It's okay. No judgment. I won't judge you. I sure won't fucking judge you. I felt incredible shame with my diagnosis, going to therapy, going to a psychiatrist, being on medication when I got diagnosed. And I was a lot younger. And I also just had a lot of problems leading up to that. And I didn't tell people what I was doing afterwards. Most people, right? I confided in a couple people. But I didn't really tell people what I was doing to heal myself, to work on healing myself. It wasn't their business, right? It's not their business. But if, sometimes you just gotta say, you know what, their opinions are not as important as my mental health. They're just not. And most people should be in therapy, like I said. So that's my opinion. Do with that what you will. I know it's very different. I know it's very different for men. The kind of pressure we put on men to keep it together, to not have emotions, to not show shit, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. When you break it down, it's just not real. It's just bravado. Lydia, I understand. I've been doing everything I can to distract myself. And still, sometimes I just break down and cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with crying. Take your time. You know what? Why don't you, this is what I do sometimes. I won't tell you what to do, but I'll tell you what I do sometimes. Sometimes I'll take something that maybe my friend was very artsy, so sometimes I'll take something that my friend made or something that reminds me of him, or that little pamphlet, and I'll look at it and I'll just talk to it like I'm talking to him. And I'll just fucking cry. And I'll get it out. Because I can't hold on to that anymore. I can't pretend like I don't miss him. And yeah, exactly. It's okay to cry. We all do it. But, it's cathartic sometimes. Sometimes it's what we need. Sometimes it's like those tears that we're holding in. We don't realize how much it's affecting our whole physical body and our spirit and our soul. Sometimes you just need to fucking get it out. Lydia, it's okay to cry. But, keeping yourself busy is a very valid way to deal with things as well. Both are okay. So maybe you say, hey, I'm going to focus on staying busy till I get to the end of work, or, until this time. I'm going to focus on trying to do things that make me happy. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit down with something that reminds me of him. And I'm going to just talk like I'm talking to him. I'm going to tell him how much I miss him. I'm going to tell him how hard it is without him. And then if you need to cry, just cry. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes you need it. I literally right 30 minutes before I started this live, I was on my floor hugging a picture of my friend crying. Literally, just no lie, no bullshit. It's okay. And honestly, I felt better after it. You don't always, but I felt better after it. Because sometimes you just don't realize that you're holding it in until it just starts pouring out of you. And that's what I think it's easier to focus on, like, okay, I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to focus on doing it on my time and when I want, not want, but when I can deal with it. And I'm going to kind of schedule that time to just let myself grieve. Because if you focus on not grieving all the time, it's going to come up and bite you in the ass. For sure. I know, Lydia. I know. I've seen you struggling, and I know, and I really can relate. I wish I could relate less, if I'm being honest, but I really can relate. Um, but I think that part of it is just letting yourself feel, and part of it is working on how am I going to get through the day? How am I going to get through? And you just do it one day at a time. How am I going to get through today? How am I going to get through today? How am I going to get through today? And before you know it, a week has passed. Before you know it, a month has passed. And a therapist will help that. So I don't know how this became like a huge therapy. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at either of you by any chance, but also, so I just looked down. So I have this thing. It's a lot of them are fidgets from when I'm nervous, but they work for depression and anxiety as well. So I have a little basket underneath my coffee table, and I have a lot of like fidget toys and things that help me when I'm not doing so well. They range in what they are. Most of them are very cheap. So like I have this, just like the, things that you had when you were a kid that just like entertained you. And, this might seem so stupid. I got this off of Amazon for like $4. But like, just like, there's breathing apps. Breathing apps are really, really great. My favorite is this app called Breath Ball. I'm gonna put it in the chat. It's an amazing app, easy peasy. And what it does is it helps you breathe, because when we're panicking, when we're depressed, when we're anxious, all of those things, we're not really breathing properly. And what it does, you can change the timing settings of it all and stuff like that. I prefer the box breathing one, the box breathing timer. And so it's just a little ball. And so when you breathe in, it expands. And when you breathe out, it contracts. It's simple. It's simple shit. But it's simple shit that gets us through really, really difficult times. And it's crazy that's how it works. But I have this. And so sometimes I'll focus on like one little bead. And I'll just focus on it until it gets to the bottom. And then I'll find another one. And I'll focus on it till it gets to the bottom. Anything like that. Anything like that. So this is one little thing. I have this little sparkle stick, and it has glitter in it that falls, and it just kind of is soothing to just kind of watch it move, and then you can flip it upside down. The kind of things you would get at like an arcade, right? That's fine, Lydia. You don't owe anyone that. Oh, yeah, I totally understand. I have some of these squishy stress balls. Amazing. totally good. I really like the dough. Is it called the dough? Um, Not Play-Doh, but like Dough. Good night, Zach. But they have like a ton of shapes. This one glows in the dark apparently, and they stay good for a really long time. Really soft, really squishy. I have these, which I connected to make a little chain. But they come and like they crack. They give me the sensation of cracking my knuckles, which I find really relaxing because that's one of my stims. So they give me the sensation of cracking my knuckles. And so sometimes I'll just be like, and it brings me peace. It's just the fucking little things. And so if you can find something like that, here's just a regular stress ball. It's got a smiley on it. Just a regular one, nothing fancy. This is it's called a tangle. And so you can like twist it up. You can do all kinds of things. Really great if you want to put it in your pocket and you can just move it around. No one really knows what you're doing. Like no one will recognize it, but it's very de-stressing. I've got some thinking putty. This one changes color, kind of. This one was a little bit more expensive, but one of my favorites. It's called the Ono. It's spelled ONO, and it's like two things that you can just roll around in your hand, and it's metal, so it's very cool in your hand. So you also get like a sensory experience, and it's just nice to roll around. Again, you can have it in your pocket. It makes no noise at all. And so you can just have it in your pocket and just roll it, and you can feel the cold, and you can focus on the cold. It's really about getting your attention somewhere else, right? And so these are the types of things that I will. Chicken's falling. These are the types of things that I will use. Now, the last one, Lydia, I think you will really like this. The last one is called a Damn It doll. Now, these are available on Etsy, on Amazon. I think they're cheapest on Amazon. You don't know what pattern you get or whatever. This is just a sewn doll that, so I'll read what it says. So it's called the Damn It doll. Whenever things don't go so well and you want to hit the wall and yell, here's a little damn it doll that you can't do without. Just grasp it firmly by the legs and find a place to slam it. And as you whack the stuffing out, just yell, damn it, damn it, damn it. You can also go to damnitdolls.com. And so if you are feeling strong emotions, doesn't matter if you're mad, sad, whatever, strong negative emotions, just take this and just see, nobody gets hurt, nothing bad happens, but you're getting all that negative energy out and you're just whacking stuff. Lydia, I think you would really, really like this. I'm gonna put it in the so Lydia, I really because like honestly, if you need to cry, and scream and yell and just get out all those feelings, if you had one of these, like because like you can slam it against anything. Honestly, sometimes when I have panic attacks, I do punch myself in the face. I'm not proud of that, but it does happen. I don't know why it happens. But sometimes I will literally hit myself with this, and it's so soft. It has no hard bits. It's got this little fluff of yarn here. It's so soft that you're not going to hurt anything with this. I have literally I've been manic and I've ripped one of these in half. Again, not necessarily the intention of the doll, but these things save lives. So if you want to try it, I would highly recommend it. They're very good for getting out any strong emotion. Sad, mad, manic, apparently. So this is one of my favorites. I really like this. And there's all different patterns, so you never know what you're gonna get. I think they're in the range of like $15 to $20, but it's super worth it. Let me look up on Amazon, because I figured the website will probably have some shipping, but Amazon can give you some free shipping usually. Oh shit, is it Prime Day? I guess it's about to be Prime Day. Okay, so I guess some of them you can pick how they look, and then some of them you can get like the random ones. Oh, they're way cheaper than I thought. Okay, well, maybe not. Okay, so I was looking at the, let's see, $13.59 right now. They're on sale. They're 28% off. That's in the classic dolls. Limited edition. There's like political ones. I don't really want those, but maybe you do. I don't know. Yeah, $13.59 seems to be the price. They do have a Santa one that's green, so it's a Grinch. But I really like those. I highly recommend them. They're good for just beating the shit out of, and you can really just go at it. Just go for it. But I'm gonna go, and yeah. So I hope you all have a good night. Thank you for helping me feel a little bit better. And yeah, so I hope you all feel a little bit better. If you don't, I've heard it gets better. Still waiting on that to be proven. No, I'm just kidding, but not really. I'm not kidding. Yeah, life is hard, but thank you for being good friends, and I hope I'm half as good of a friend to you all as you are to me. So thank you, and I'll talk to you later.